I have always felt that if somehow I can make what I do part of something bigger than it was, then it becomes more meaningful, and at the end of the day, we reach further, we accomplish more, and everybody feels good about doing what they're doing. And we're talking about social media. I was going to go from another direction. So we'll come back to this. So social media. So the world barely resembles the industry. In some ways, it hasn't changed at all. In some ways, it barely resembles what it did even recently. I had a reporter who recently asked me a question. He said, Ken, so we get that everything's changing. Where do you think we'll be in 5 years from now? And I said, that's an irrelevant question. And they said, why is it an irrelevant question? I said, because if you asked me 5 years ago if I had a clue what was pinning and posting and tweeting and retweeting and friending and even Googling, I would have looked at you like you were out of your mind. But the reality is I live my life, as do most of them, by these new platforms. And that which few even knew what they were just a few years ago. So the reality today is that to try to anticipate where we're going to be 5 years ago, I'm not sure is really even useful, because you just have to build a platform that responds well to change and is configuring change, as I just said. So, but what's changed in the industry, in the fashion business specifically, is that people did business geographically, specifically targeted at certain consumer groups that were geographically situated. And today, it's a global community. And what's amazing is that when I started in the business years ago, fashion originated on the runways of Paris and Milan. It got to New York 6 months and London 6 months later. It got to St. Louis and Toledo 2.5 years after that. And it never got to Shanghai, and it never got to Mumbai, and it never got. Today, there is a global audience for fashion that consumes it in real time. It is astounding. So, in fact, I argue that fashion maybe today is the first and maybe the only real universal language. Because with social media today, everybody consumes fashion globally on their terms. And what's really unique now, even in the last couple of years, is that, so that's been going on for, I don't know, 5 or so plus years, but now it's being consumed and being brought to market based upon the needs of the regional consumer, everybody. So it's being interpreted at every price point. So design in this country isn't proprietary. It just isn't. Anybody can basically copy what anybody else does, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. It's not as easy to do that in other places in the world. But what is proprietary is the brand. So hopefully we curate what we do, we bring it to you at a price-value equation that hopefully is appealing and desirable and anticipated, and hopefully we can do it consistently, and that's what makes the brand unique, and that's what enables us to have a specific point of view. So, but everything is immediate, and I left the runway 7 years ago. I'm going all over the place. I left the runway 7 years ago because I felt that fashion and the runway specifically had become irrelevant. And because of the internet, it was being broadcast everywhere, and there was these fashion TV networks were popping up in every region, in every market, global TV market, everywhere, because it was free content, and they would just capture all these different runway shows. They'd run them 24 hours, and there'd be somebody to watch it. They did, that's okay because it didn't cost them anything. And but then what was happening is, so you were given access, you were given visibility as a brand, but you were usually showing full product to a consumer who was consuming spring product. Plus, the product wasn't available in that market in 90+% of the marketplaces. And even if it was, what we show on the runway usually isn't what makes it to the store, because it's usually editorialized. So it's not, it's interpreted, and it isn't exactly. So I felt we were frustrating an audience more than we were building an inspiring one. So I stopped doing runway shows, and then all of a sudden, 6 months ago, I woke up one day and said, wait a second. this has all changed. And it's about kind of like figuring out every day, like I was talking about before, because people consume fashion differently than they did before. And consuming fashion isn't about taking out your credit card and buying what you see. To me, fashion, the way you consume fashion today is you pin it, you post it, you tweet it, you retweet it. And that is what we hope for as a brand. And I believe today everybody is their own brand. And I think you guys haven't started your careers yet, but you already have your own brand. And you curate it on your Facebook page, and you curate it on your Instagram page, or on your Pinterest page, and then your Instagram feed and your Twitter feed, and you talk about it. And not only do you define your brand, but you also curate your audience. You decide who you're going to give access to your brand. And I'm going to let you see it, and I'm not going to let you see it. And so everybody's building their following today already, and they're also defining who they are. So my goal as a designer is not to assume you're going to want to define yourself by who I am or what I think is right. My hope is that you will allow me to be part of your brand. That's what I hope for. And then I hope that then somehow I can relate to you and you to it, and then when the time comes you do look to consume because you have specific needs, you'll go to the website, you'll buy what you want, the color you want, the size you want, on your terms. So that today is how how I believe how fashion is consumed very differently than it was before.
Great answer.